Well, we got the 01 back and got oil leak issues. So I was told it was leaking a gallon of oil in a short amount of time and leaving oil trails. So we brought it over here and parked it, and that and these were the only oil spots that were there. The valley had oil in it. It was about half full, and ran it for a little while, a couple of times, couldn't find a leak. So figured it might be temperature related, so we ran it this morning, put it on fast idle, and ran it this morning and got it good and warm, and ta-da, we got a waterfall of oil coming off of the transmission, which is all coming from the weep hole because that's not transmission oil. So I'm gonna slide this back under there. So I don't know if you guys can make that out on camera or not, but the valley is full of oil, and it's probably not gonna show, but it looks like it's overflowing the top wall of the back instead of just draining out the weep hole. And I can run it and get underneath the bottom and see oil just falling all over the place, but it's falling off the transmission, so it's coming off the back of the engine. But I'm looking at the Hpop lines, they're dry. I don't see any drips there. I don't see any oil squirting. I can't make out the turbo pedestal because it's right at the oil line because the oil's overflowing. So we're going to take a coat hanger and we're going to see if we can't punch a hole in evidently the weep hole is stopped up. So we're going to try and drain that where we can clean the valley. Alright guys, just to show you guys what I'm trying to do with that oil in the valley. This is a block that I have for parts. So, you know, usually you'll see oil dripping from either one of these two high pressure oil fittings, the non-serviceable plug. But the oil's going to accumulate in the valley. And you always have this hole right here in the back right hand side or passenger side corner. There's nothing in this side, it's just a turbo pedestal. So all the oil that leaks in the valley goes right to that hole, and it drips down the back side of the motor, and you can see the starter area down there, but it's going to drip right down there on the starter. Or what's happening with mine is it's overflowing right here because it's totally full, so it's overflowing and going down there. So a lot of times it'll fool you into thinking you got a rear main leak because you'll see oil coming out from under the flywheel dust cover or all over the starter on the passenger side, but that's what it is. It's that weep hole. And you can see, let's see where she goes. It's underneath this plate right here. So again, that's it right there. So I'm gonna try and get a coat hanger in there and wire that out and make that oil drain. Alright, so we came and took a couple of gallons of oil. Let me see if I can get down there and show you guys. I don't know if you can see, but we got the valley as empty as it's gonna be anyhow. That's as good as a camera shot as I can get for right now. But we dumped a couple of gallons of water in the valley, flushed all that gunk out, and then put a gallon of cleaner. So the valley is now empty. And what was happening in the back, there's a little, basically a little wall kind of under the turbo in the very back there that walls off the valley, and in the back passenger side is a weep hole, and that's why top valley leaks always piss all over the starter. So we had oil running all the way across the whole wall and running down the transmission and coming down both sides. So we caught all that mess and got all that straightened out and degreased it. But because the valley was so flooded, we couldn't see exactly where the oil was coming from. So I just checked the dipstick, and the bottom of the safe zone is right here. So she needs a gallon of oil, and she was over full when I did it. So in 30 minutes of running, she's at idle, she spit out a gallon of oil. So we're going to put some oil in and we're going to fire her back up and see if we can spot the leak on this thing and see what we can figure out. Alrighty, let me see if I can find this nut. Let's see if I can get it on the camera. Alright, just below this plug, there's a protrusion with a bolt or an O-ring boss fitting in it. And you can see the oil around the nut. Now, with it running, you can take some brake cleaner and spray it and the oil will clean off. You have a shiny nut, and then it's leaking oil all around the nut again. So even though I can't see it dripping, we got a Hpop reseal. Looks like what we're going to need to do on this. That's what's dripping in the valley, and I think what's happening is when oil temp gets up to warm and that oil's thin and that O-ring expands with the temperature, it's leaking way worse. So I think that's our problem. Alright, so the plug that I'm seeing that's leaking is this one right here, which is the rear drain plug. This hole's for the IPR. That's your non-serviceable and your 2 high pressure oil lines. You have this plug and another Allen head plug on the bottom, but this one, I think they've already changed the O-ring in here. Might not have put the right O-ring or something, but it's weeping all around the nut as soon as you start it. And I think what's happening is once this oil pressure gets good and hot and this rubber expands, it's just rolling out of there. So we shall see. Piece of shit. Alright, so down there, let me get this camera. Down right there, you'll see we got the nut in. And I'm working on torquing her down, 25 foot-pounds. And of course, put in hand tight, and the damn thing doesn't want to work. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, we're going right. Okay, here we go. .25 foot-pounds. Double check it one more time. Alright, I got an oil pad down in there. That's that white thing. They catch all the oil, so we have to fish that out and clean the oil out the valley and spot for leaks. So we'll top her off. And I don't know if my camera and I have been agreeing, but if you missed it, we just took the plug that we tightened up in there, and I don't know if the camera caught it, but it's Loctite that came with the kit. I said 620, it's 680, but that's what comes with that particular kit, and I'll get you the kit number. But you just put the new O-ring on the plug, lube it up, try not to get any lube on the threads, and then there's the Loctite 680 bag, and this is the kit from Ford, and it comes with 3 of these red O-rings and then 2 of the fuel discharge fittings in there so that you can re-O-ring them. You can use the red ones, but they also have O-rings on these. So that's the kit we're using. And again, same thing on these. If we don't need these because they're not leaking, but put a little lube on that O-ring, and then the last 2 or 3 threads, you need a little bit of that Loctite 680 compound, and make sure your threads in the hole are clean, and run it up in there, snug it down. These are 25 foot-pounds too. So let me get into checking the oil, degreasing, and we're going to check for leaks. Alright guys, so this is what I use, and I'm not paid by these guys. It's something I've been using. I get it at Dollar General, but you can order it online, and I'm sure it's somewhere else. But it's some degreaser called Awesome, and man, this stuff is good for getting that black gunk off of everything. So I have maybe not quite half a jug of water here, and I'm gonna dilute this. I use it straight sometimes, and sometimes I'll cut it. You can cut it 50-50 or whatever, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this and I'm gonna fish that rag out of the so anyway, there's a label again. I'm gonna fish that rag out of the valley, and then I'm gonna pour this in there and let it sit for a little bit and kind of cut that, and then I'm gonna rinse that valley out. All right, we're gonna go down with the Chinese fingers and see if we can't fish our oil rag out of here. And I'm sure it's gonna hang up on every damn thing. That's high enough where I can grab it, I believe. Alright, make sure we don't have anything else in there. We don't. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, I'll set y'all up, but basically I'm gonna try to avoid my electrical connections. I'm gonna pour some oil in here on both sides of the fuel filter and the Hpop, and then a little bit back here. Trying not to get on the plugs, but it's not the end of the world if you do. Let me get y'all set up. So again, this is 50-50 cleaner. I like to stay away from the plugs, but if you just use them like hose water or this kind of stuff where you just pour in water, it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna get a little bit on the Hpop itself to kind of degrease it, because oil's been running down it, and a little bit on this side. It's all, you got to catch this stuff because it's going to run out the back of the valley, and you can probably hear it running on in my catch pan now. And a little bit of this, you got some little pockets in the valley, so a little bit of this stuff will sit in those pockets and lift that oil out. I'm gonna let that sit a little while. I gotta run pick up some something at the store, and when I get back we'll run some water over, some hose water, some jug water, pour it on there, and rinse all that Awesome off, and then we should be ready to test fire this baby and be able to actually see if it's leaking. We got through with this one and ran it yesterday for a little while, but I had a lot of degrease I had dumped in the valley, so I had a cardboard under there. I didn't see any major leaks like we had before that crapped up this cardboard. So I think that's a little bit more of a leak, but we had a few little tattletale leaks around where the normal bell housing starter leak area is for the valley, and some on the transmission. But I think a lot of that degreaser that went over the back valley wall is sitting, not the degreaser as much as the oil, is sitting on top of the transmission and the little cooler fins in the transmission. So ran it for a while, didn't see any major leaks. So what we're going to do today is fire this old girl up. Already checked the oil, she's dead on full. We put a fresh cardboard under there. Not a fresh one, but we flipped over yesterday's, and that'll be good. We'll be able to compare it, and we're gonna test run the old girl and let her run for a while, get warm, and see if we still have leaks or if that was just some leftover cleaner and old oil from the original leak. So we'll see if we got her fixed. All right, let's run her for a while, and we'll come back. All right, we're gonna call a wrap on this one. Cardboard is not showing too many drips. I think we're still getting a little bit of the mess dripping off. I hadn't gotten down there and sprayed all that off yet. And I looked in the valley. We got little fluid in the valley, but it's clear, you can see through it. So that's water left over from the cleaning and degreasing process. And she's running good and not dripping oil like that. So we're good. And this one's we're gonna call it a day on this one. I think we're gonna have to get back to some soot, which is probably gonna be a up pipe gasket. I'll have to talk to them, see if they want to fool with that. And other than that, that's about it for this one for right now. So if y'all see anything that I can improve on, or you have any questions for me or tips for me to make myself better, hit me up in the comment section. Other than that, we're gonna call this one a wrap. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.